Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and in this video I'm going to be showing you how to create your first Spigot plugin for your Spigot Minecraft server. So this is going to be a step-by-step tutorial on how to create a simple command inside of a Spigot plugin. I did one of these in 2015, a few years ago, but this is a new updated version, so I'm going to be showing you step-by-step what to do. So first, we're going to get started by installing Java Development Kit. Now this is required whenever you want to develop in Java, and every single Spigot plugin is coded in Java, which is just a programming language. So in order to be able to develop, you go to this website to download the JDK. You're going to have to click Accept Agreement, and then just select whichever version of JDK you need for your operating system. There's a few here. And then after that, I recommend using an IDE, which is just basically, like, instead of using a notepad or some other text editor to code, this is just a program meant specifically for coding in Java. So the best one is Eclipse, in my opinion, the best open source one. It's completely free. All you do is you go to this website right here. I'll leave a link down below in the description to both these websites that I mentioned. And all you do is click download for whatever operating system you have, click download, and just install it. Alright, now to get started, we're just going to open up Eclipse. And what we're going to need to have on our computer before we start coding is a Spigot jar, so just the Spigot server file. And there's a lot of ways to do this, but you can just Google and you can find a way to get a Spigot jar. Alright, so this is what Eclipse is going to look like when you first open it. You're going to want to click this button right here which says Workbench. So this is the place you're going to be coding. So what I recommend doing is just minimizing all these things on the sides so they don't annoy you, just kind of tweak the layout. And now we're going to start by creating a Java project. So right here is the Package Explorer. This is just going to list all the files you have inside your Java project. So just right click, click New, and then Java Project. So inside the project name, just put whatever you want to call your project. I'm just going to call this tutorial, and I also can't type, so that's nice. But then we're just going to click Finish, and it's going to create a tutorial project. So now we're going to go over here, click this little triangle to see everything inside. And this is the source folder right here, the SRC, that's for source. This is going to store all of your packages and every single file of code that you have. So just right click on the source folder, click New, and then click Package. Now a package is just a container for similar codes. So let's say you have a package for commands. All the commands are going to be stored inside of the command package, so it's just easier to see. You can choose anything you want for the name for the most part, but what most people do, most developers, they put their website backwards. So instead of putting like google.com, they would put com.google. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put myname.tutorial because it doesn't really matter, but it's just nice to have your website. I'm just going to do my name because I don't really have a website. So then we're going to go ahead over here. You'll see a new package is created. Right click on the package, click New, and then click Class. I'm going to name this class main just because it's going to contain the main code of our Java plugin. You can name this pretty much anything, but I'm just going to name it main just to be simple and straightforward. So here is our code. So now you can see that it's created our package, and this is called a class in Java. A class is just like a file for Java. That's all it basically is. So we can't code a Spigot plugin yet because we have to import the Spigot jar. So what you're going to go ahead and do is click on tutorial here, right click, and then go ahead and click Properties down at the bottom here. After that, go ahead into Java build path and go into libraries. Now a library is just basically a set of code that you're going to borrow. So you're going to borrow code from the Spigot API. So just navigate to where that is. So here's my Spigot jar. This is for 1.12.2. And you're just going to click Open and then click Apply, Apply and Close. And now you're able to code your Spigot plugin. So in order to start coding our Spigot plugin, we're going to first go next to our main here. And then we're just going to type extends Java plugin. Now what you'll see now is that this is underlined, but you're just going to hover over it and click Import Java plugin. There's also another way you can do this. You can also press Command-Shift-O or Control-Shift-O on your keyboard to import. In my case, it's Command-Shift-O because I'm on Mac, and that'll just help you save time whenever you're importing. Okay, so now what we've just done here is by putting Extends Java plugin, we've borrowed code from Java plugin, which is part of the Spigot API, which is part of the Spigot server jar that we've already imported. As you can see, org.bukkit.plugin, Java plugin. So now we're going to create a method for onEnable. Now you'll see what a method is in just a second, but basically what this method is going to do is it's going to allow us to run code when the server starts up. So what we're going to type is public void onEnable, and this is just going to have a bracket at the end and the bracket at the end here. So inside these two brackets is where you're going to put your code. So in this code, we want it to say a message when the server starts up. So what I'm going to do, there's actually two ways to do it. But the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to do system.out.println, and this is a standard Java statement. So what this is going to do is just print a message in the console whenever you start your server. So tutorial plugin started, I guess is what we're going to do here. So now we're going to create a method called onDisable. Now what onDisable is going to do is pretty similar to onEnable. It's just going to run code when the plugin's disabled or when the server's shutting down. So public void and then onDisable. And then inside of this, we can do pretty much the same thing, but I'm just going to copy paste because that's what amazing programmers do. And tutorial plugin AllttA, I guess, because that sounds harsh or something like that. Okay, so basically we've gotten our plugin to work now. Well, not really. We got one more thing to do. We're going to go over here next to Package Explorer. We're going to right click on it, click New, and then we're going to click File. Now we're going to make a file called plugin.yml, and yes, it has to be called plugin.yml. And inside of the plugin.yml, we're going to type the name of the plugin, so name, so whatever you want your plugin called, so I'll just call it tutorial. And this is going to show when you do /plugins on the server. Then we're going to do main, and what main refers to is the location of your main class, which is, I'm going to click that, which is main right here. So to find that, you're going to basically go to your package, so you see techtoolbox.tutorial, and then you're going to put .main, which is the name of this class. So this is how I would do it for mine. I would do techtoolbox.tutorial, which is the name of my package, and then I would do .main because that's the name of my main class. Now one more thing you can do is put the version number, so version 1.0, and that's all you need for your plugin.yml. Now what this file does is basically specifies to the plugin manager where, for example, the main class is located, what the name of the plugin is, and if we didn't have a plugin.yml inside of the plugin just wouldn't load. That's just what happens if you don't have it. Alright, so we got a bit of code here, but let me just quickly recap on what we've done here. So extends Java plugin basically lets us borrow code from this Spigot Spigot API. Then public void onEnable basically runs code within these two brackets when the server starts up. System.out.println just prints text, or I guess print in this case would be writes text to the terminal. Then public void onDisable is like onEnable, just the opposite, and println is the same exact thing as that. So now we just want to test this, so we gotta have a test server. Now I'm not gonna be showing you how to make that in this video, but there's a bunch of videos on the internet. You can find them. They're easy. They're all over the place. And you can just make a test server. So now I'm going to export this into a jar file. So we're going to quickly right-click on here under the Package Explorer tutorial. Then just click Export here. We're going to want to click this triangle next to Java and find jar file. Then click Next. Make sure all the stuff here is ticked. Then under the directory jar file here, we're going to click Browse and find our test server. So I have a Spigot test server. We're going to go to plugins. And then up here, you're just going to name your plugin. I'm just going to name it tutorial. Click save and then click finish. And if this happens, because this does happen sometimes, just click OK, disregard it, and try it again. And there we go. It should work now. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go to our test server and quickly reload the test server. And what you'll see is enabling loading tutorial. And then right here is tutorial plugin started, and this is what we put here, tutorial plugin started. Now if we quickly go ahead and just stop the test server, what you'll see is tutorial plugin halted, which is what we put here. So that's a good sign. That means our plugin works. If your plugin isn't loading at this point, just double check your plugin.yml, make sure it looks something like this, and just replace this with whatever your class is. And that's about it for this part, but now I promised we're going to be making commands. So let's make a command. So remember I was talking about packages. We can create packages for different types of code. So in this case, we want a package for commands. So we're going to right click the tutorial, click new package, and then, so we're just going to name it .commands, and then click next. And then under commands over here, we're going to right click, click class, and then just name our command. So whatever you want to name your command, I'm just going to do a tutorial command because that's just typical. And here we have the command. Now, we're going to quickly look back to our main. Remember we did extends Java plugin, we borrowed from Java plugin. Well, now we want to do commands, and there's a thing in Spigot called command executor. So we're just going to do implements command executor, and this does exactly the same thing for the most part. The executor, if I can spell, this does the same thing for the most part as extends in the other one. Lets us borrow code. Executor, however you spell that, and then do command shift O to import, as we learned. Okay, now this is easy. This is cool that this does it, but if we quickly hover over this, it'll it'll pop up these two fixes. So click Add Unimplemented Methods, and it generates all the code that we need to create a command, which is really useful. It saves a lot of time. Now what I'm going to quickly do here is we're going to go for command sender. I'm going to quickly change this to sender. Under command, I'm going to change this to CMD. Under string, I'm going to change it to label. And then, I still can't spell. And then under args, under string, we're just gonna name args. Okay, so that's all we need. We're just gonna quickly change this right here, this false to true, because if we don't, every time we run the command, it'll print it out in the chat. It's kind of bad. Don't do that. Okay, so now what I want this to do is I want it to print out a gold message in chat saying hello world when you type /tutorial inside of the server. So this is pretty easy. I know it might sound difficult, but it's easy. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to check whether the console is running it, so like the server itself is running it, or the player is running it. So we just do an if statement. Now if statements they basically check if code inside of these two parentheses is like true, false, or whatever you set it to be. So if we're going to do sender, which we defined up here, which is the command sender instance of player, and then we're going to want to import player, so command shift O. And what this checks for is if the person that's sending the command or running the command is a player, it runs this. Now if it's not, we can do an else statement, which basically is a condition for when this isn't true, it just runs else. So now we're going to quickly wait for that, but we want it to send a message to the player. So what we need to do is we need to define what the player is. So we're going to do player, and then we're going to name the player player. And then we're going to do something called casting here. So we're going to type these two parentheses, and we're going to put player inside of here, and then sender outside here. All right, let's quickly recap because I know this is confusing to you. Player right here is the type. So right here is the same as player. And then this is the variable for player that we're making. We just made this so we can use it. It's like an integer in Java, if you've learned about those. It's like you can set an integer and you can give it a name. So in this case, we're just giving the type player the name player. And over here, we're casting the type player to sender. So as you can see right here, command sender, sender is a command sender. It's not a player. By casting, we can change the type of sender to a player. Because right here, command sender is not compatible with this. If we weren't able to do this right here, it would give us an error. It would say, let's see, type mismatch. Cannot convert from command sender to sender, and we can just cast it. Okay, so now we can do this thing called player.sendMessage, which is easy. It makes sense. So just do player.sendMessage. And you can use the suggestions down here, actually, to see all the things we have. For example, send chunk change, stuff like that. That's for more advanced stuff. And then over here, in between these two parentheses, is where we're going to put the message. But I said earlier on that we wanted to create a gold color. Now, there's this thing called chat color. So do chat color.translate alternate color codes. And then inside of here, we're going to put an and sign. And inside of here, we're going to put the message. So let me quickly pause and explain what we just did. So send message basically sends the message inside of the two parentheses. And then chat color is allowing us to give color. But when we do translate alternate color codes, it allows us to use the and sign here for colors. So for example, the color 6 in Minecraft is gold. So we do and 6 and we can type hello world. Now what this would make it is, it would make the color over here be 6, which is gold. So it's basically converting this and to whatever colors they have. So just remember this, translate alternate color codes, very handy. There's also another thing you can do if you don't want to use translate alternate color codes. We can do send message. We can do chat color, and then we can do dot, and then there's all these other colors that you can do as well. But that's if you don't want to use alternate color codes. Those are a little bit more complex sometimes to use these than this. But if you're just doing one color, for example, you want to do green, it's easy. But when you want to change colors, for example, if you want to have two things be different colors, it's a lot easier to do it that way. So just know how to do that. Alright, so that's easy, but now I was talking about we wanted to send a message to the command sender, or the console if it's sending it. So we can't do player.sendMessage because the console is not a player. It won't let us do it. So what we can just do is we can do either of two things. So earlier on we did system.out.println. So we can just quickly copy this right over here, and we can tell it, for example, cannot run from console. Right? We can do it that. Now, if you want colors for the console, like you want to send a color to the console because system.println won't accept chat color, what we can do is we can do Bukkit.getServer, which basically like, gets the methods that have a lot of things related to servers, and then we can do .getConsoleSender, which is basically gonna get the console sender. So let's see if this is a command sender. It'll just get the console sender from Bukkit.getServer, which is just like a bunch of code. And then we can do .sendMessage. So it's basically the same thing as doing a player, like right here, instance of player, but it's just sending a message to the console. So in here we can just do chat color translate alternate color codes, and then we can translate the color codes as we want. So let's send the same message for the console if they're running this command. So we'll just quickly do these two quotes, and then we'll do and6 hello world. Alright, so now we've made the command actually do something, and that's all well and good, but the command doesn't actually work yet at this stage. There's two things we have to do to enable the command to work. So this implements command executor, right, in this class, but we have to connect it to this class, this main class, which extends Java plugin. So everything in any other class that you want to be related to the plugin and has to run must be connected to the Java plugin main class somehow. So in order to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to type inside of our onEnable, get command, and then we're going to type what the command we want to be is. So we're going to type it tutorial. And this is what players have to run in chat. And now we have to do a thing called set executor. So just type set executor. And then we're going to do new. And then tutorial, which is the name of this class right here. So we're just going to click Control-Shift-O to import. And then we're going to type two brackets here, or two parentheses, and we're done. That's literally it. So let's quickly recap because, yeah, that was confusing too. So this first part, get command, basically gets, for example, when the player runs it, it gets the command here, tutorial. And then it sets executor, which basically lets it know that the code for that command is inside of this class right here, which is called tutorial. And that's about it. That's all we need. So next, we have to put this command inside of our plugin.yml. Now, every single command you are going to put is going to be inside the plugin.yml. So we're just going to type commands in here. And then we're going to type whatever the command we want to be. So tutorial. And then we can type usage, which is how we want the command to be used. So you can do /command. And then description. This is going to show up in help whenever we do /help for this command. Description. So displays a classic message because, you know, hello world is a classic programming message. And that's about it. That's all we need to do. Now, at this point, I just want to quickly add a description. We can just do a tutorial plugin. And what this does is when we do help for this plugin, it lists the description. So this could be like a usage thing for how you use the plugin or just anything. Whatever you want. So just do that. And now we just have to export the plugin one more time. So just right click, export, click next, finish, replace. If it fails, we're just going to do it one more time. That happens sometimes. So yes and okay. Seems to be happening more because I'm recording or something. So now we're going to quickly reload our test server. So RL inside of the test server. Tutorial plugin started. Looks pretty good. Let's type tutorial inside of here. And it says hello world like we told it to. Alright, so now let's test the plugin that we just made. So we're going to type /pl in chat to see the plugins. So that's good. We can see tutorial is loaded on the server. Now we can do /about tutorial to see our message. So as we put inside the plugin.yml, tutorial plugin right here. And then we can also do /help tutorial. And you'll see that we have tutorial over here. So we can do /help /tutorial as well. And it'll tell us what the usage is. So it tells us to run it. And then it tells us it can display a classic message, which is what we put as well. So that's nice, but is it gonna work is what we don't know. So, /tutorial. Let's quickly run it. Hello world. That's what it tells us. And we can go back here and we can see there's no console errors, which is good. There's one more thing we can do with this. You can make the messages sort of customizable, actually, or customized, because you can add player names inside of the message, which is cool. So let me quickly show you how to do that. So we can do hello world, comma, and then we can do plus, which basically adds on to the message that we already have. And then we can do player, which we already defined. And then we can do, remember we had all these things, we can do send message or something. We can also do get which basically gets a piece of data instead of sending it or setting it. So we can do player.getName, and that's all we need to do to have their name be inside the message. But I'm just going to quickly add on to it because, you know, I want to be formal. I want to put a period at the end of the sentence. So now we're going to quickly export one more time. Next, finish, whatever. And then we can quickly reload. We go back into here, and if we run tutorial one more time, hello world, techtoolbox. I didn't realize how much that sentence didn't make sense until I finally put it inside, but whatever. Anyways, guys, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this first tutorial on how to code a Bukkit plugin, a 2018 version. Took me some time to make this, so thank you for watching. Hopefully you learned something. And the next video I'm going to be doing is going to be on listeners and GUIs, graphical user interfaces. It's going to be really cool. You're going to want to see it. Don't miss it. But anyways, guys, thank you for watching. All the source code is going to be in the description. I'm out. I'll see you in the next one.